The second type of presentation that we're going to look at is a teacher-created presentation, but it also adds another element to it where students are interacting. This is a type of presentation that I'm very familiar with, using it with my students for the last couple of years.
So you notice this first slide, very similar. We have an image. It's just kind of our title slide to start our lesson.
But if you go to the second slide, that's where things kind of change a little bit. I mean, I see boxes, text boxes, I could still put images, but what's interesting is now if I type in, I could, as a student, actually answer the questions that are being asked.
So in this example, this is nice because the students get the slides presentation. There's questions right there and a box for them to type their answers in. The students are actually interacting with the information on the slide.
Now I'm wondering though, if they're interacting, if I put this in Google Classroom, what would that look like? Would I have to do a view only?
So now that we actually want each student to be able to, in this case, answer questions, when you post it in Classroom, this would be where you select make a copy for each student. That way each student's slide presentation is theirs with their own answers in it. Now I noticed also like these text boxes were white. So that's something we're going to show you is how to put in text boxes you want students to enter in. Can I click on any of the other text on this slide? Like up on the top here?
No, you can't.
So what happened here is that's all a background image. And that's something we're going to learn about later is how to get a background image that actually has your questions already in it. You only want your students to be able to type where they answer the questions.
Now, what's also cool with these interactive activities, you don't have to just have text boxes. So for instance, on this slide, you'll see that there's also a background image that I can't manipulate, but these pictures, I could actually move them around, kind of like a timeline. So, you could use it for a history class, you could maybe put in like order of steps in a, science experiment, or even like a sorting or a matching activity in a math classroom.
So anytime that you had certain things you either want students to group, I could be teaching different shapes for geometry and I want quadrilaterals, triangles, I could put images on there and they could slide them to the correct category, but you want to make sure that it's only the things you want the students to move that are able to be moved. So the rest of this slide again is a background image. Only those individual photos are able to be moved, and that's something you'll learn about in a later video.
And then the last slide, very similar to the previous one. This one, notice you're using the scroll, so that's a object image. And then what you can do here is sort the words around. Now, I can't double click on the words and type in them, so does that mean it's a picture?
So yeah, instead of a text box where you type the words in, this is a skill we'll learn about later is how to take a snip of a word. We want them to just move that whole word. We don't want them to change the word that's inside or anything. So it's actually a picture that they're moving around again. Using this type of interaction, you can draw students in. They're a little more interested when they can actually do some activities in the slides. They're not just reading information, and it's a nice way to get them involved.
And I think the best part is now you don't have to cut up all these little pictures together for the students to work on it by hand. You could just use it on the internet.
Yep. And you'll be familiar with activities like this that you might have done on the smartboard where kids come in and move it. Here they could simply move those objects like they did on the smartboard, but they can be using their Chromebook.